Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Taekook Cherry, a love that whispers, not shout. In the midst of a world noisy with love that is shown off and instant affection, the story of Jungkook and Taehyung steps slowly, as if walking on silent clouds. They do not write their story with flashy ink, but with morning dew, only readable by those who truly feel it. Jungkook loves Taehyung like dusk loves the horizon, always close, never united, but waiting for each other in beautiful silence. His love is not displayed in the media showcase, but hidden in late-night messages, "Take care of yourself," or just 2 words that can shake their small universe, "I'm here." He is not the type to diligently reply to the world's messages. But for Taehyung, his fingers are never heavy. In a world that is increasingly losing the art of being present, Jungkook chooses to be meaningfully silent, with video calls before going to bed, secret emojis, and silence that feels like the warmest hug. They don't just greet each other. They fill each other. Once, thousands of kilometers separated them, but they appeared wearing the same shirt. They said it was a coincidence. But the universe is rarely that innocent. The universe loves to play with symbols, and Taekook is its poetry. When Jungkook regrets not being able to attend the Bruno Mars concert that Taehyung attended, it is not just regret. It is a veiled confession that he wants to always be at the point where Taehyung smiles, sings, and lives. Their circle knows. The world secretly understands. Wooshik only follows 2 accounts, Taehyung and Jungkook. Peak Boy becomes a DJ not because of a formal invitation, but because of a personal request. Taehyung's childhood friend does not hesitate to share Jungkook's work. Their threads are intertwined, not by coincidence but because of fate that is secretly working. However, every beautiful story needs a witness. That's where Jin is present, not as a nuisance, but as a secret keeper. He sees it all without ever asking, without ever judging. Jin is a silent figure but never absent. Behind his calm smile and warm laughter, he observes how 2 hearts strive for each other without having to clearly have each other. Jin knows when to speak and when to simply look with understanding. He once told Taehyung, "Do you know what makes someone stay? Not because you ask them to, but because they choose not to." And at that time, Taehyung was silent. But in the corner of the room, Jungkook heard him. Sometimes Jin laughed with Taehyung, a chuckle behind the screen, a laugh that made Jungkook smile wryly but remain silent. He understood. True love doesn't need to be claimed. It just needs to be guarded. And Jin? He's not a barrier. He's a reflection, that love can come from unexpected directions, but only the true one survives. In every group photo shoot, Jungkook never jostled for position. He waited. Waiting for the time to stand by Taehyung's side, because that's where his home is. And when Taehyung wasn't there, the world felt quiet. Jungkook drowned himself in sad songs like Lost Stars, until the shadows returned and the world regained its color. His love never needed words. It spoke through presence. His gaze was deeper than any love quote. His steps were slow as he approached, as if to say, "I'm never in a hurry to catch up with you." His hugs came unbidden, but were always warmly returned. And when Taehyung was afraid to jump, Jungkook didn't pull away, he climbed in first, showing that he was always on the other side waiting. Until one day Jungkook showed up with half cherry red, half blonde hair, Taehyung's iconic style. When asked, he just smiled. Love is half and half. And Jin? He smiled first than anyone else. Because he knew. Not all love has to possess. But silent love, that's the bravest. From that day on, the world was introduced to a new term. Taekook Cherry. Not just a name, but a symbol that love, when fought for in silence, can be the loudest in the history of 2 hearts searching for each other. When silence becomes a promise. Days passed and the outside world still never knew how deep the feelings hidden behind Jungkook's gaze towards Taehyung. But Jin knew. He noticed every little movement that might have escaped the eyes of others. The way Jungkook glanced at Taehyung in between practice, or how he smiled unconsciously when he heard his name being called. Jin never asked directly. But he was there, always there. Like the sky that never demands the clouds to stay, but always embraces them when they return. One night, when practice was over and only the 3 of them were left in the practice room, Jin looked at Jungkook, who was sitting silently staring at the mirror. In his eyes was confusion, longing, and maybe a little fear. Jin just sat beside him, then said softly, "If you love her, just show it. But never force it." And from there, Jungkook began to understand that mature love is not about who has it first, but who is willing to stay the longest. Growing in the shadow, shining in the light. Not all love stories need to be labeled. Taekook chose to walk in the shadows, but their light could never be hidden. Fans saw it in the way they looked at each other on stage, or when their hands accidentally touched many times. In one fan sign session, when asked about the most meaningful song, Jungkook answered, "A song that makes you think of someone, even though you can't say their name." And without realizing it, his gaze turned to Taehyung, who was laughing with the staff. Jin, who was sitting next to him, just smiled a little, silently understanding. He became a safe space for Jungkook to talk without having to say anything. A place where Jungkook's feelings could rest without fear of being judged. Sometimes Jin joked, "You're too soft, Kooky," but he knew behind that calm demeanor there was a heart that loved too deeply to be expressed. When time tests unspoken promises. But time is the biggest test. Busyness, solo projects, and distance that can't always be bridged changed their communication. More silence. More longing that was held back. But it didn't disappear, it was just stored temporarily. And when the moment of reunion came, the camera captured something that words cannot express. Taehyung looked at Jungkook for a moment, nodded slightly, and Jungkook returned it with a smile that only exists for one person. It wasn't a greeting. It was a long-delayed promise finally expressed through the eyes. Jin, from behind the screen, watched them. He knew this story wasn't over. He knew this love would continue to grow, even if slowly, even if without much sound. Love that doesn't ask for a name. Now, the term Taekook Cherry isn't just a trend or a fan gimmick. It's a silent memoir of a love that is patient, sincere, and full of the courage to stay even though it's not always visible. Jungkook and Taehyung aren't a couple to be hyped up. They are a reminder that the most real love grows in the quietest spaces. And Jin? He's still there. Not just as a witness, but as a protector of a story that's too beautiful to be forced to flow in the wrong direction. Because in a world that's busy shouting about love, Jin knows, true love always speaks through silence. Never-ending ending, where love finds its home. Time passes as usual. The world keeps turning. Busy schedules, individual projects, and spaces that slowly drift away. But one thing remains constant, a feeling that never really goes away. Taehyung grows into a more mature person, in his silence, in the warmth that doesn't say much but feels genuine. Jungkook changes too. Sharper, calmer. But when they're in the same room, the world seems to stop for a moment. The camera may be on the stage, but true love is always in the moments that escape the lens. At their last photo shoot before the military break begins, all the members are gathered. During the break, Jungkook sits in the corner, staring at his blank phone screen. There are no messages. Only the wallpaper he hasn't changed in ages, a blurry picture from Taehyung's birthday night, when the two of them secretly went out to watch a small firework display in the backyard of the building. Jin approaches, sits down next to him, and says without further ado, "Are you still waiting for her?" Jungkook doesn't answer. But Jin knows. Then don't get tired. Because the one you're waiting for is also waiting for you. Love that's kept, not hidden. They may not post much together. But in every song Jungkook writes, in every photo Taehyung chooses to upload, there are traces of each other. Perceptive fans know that love hasn't gone away. It's just learning to step aside. Jin himself mentioned them one day when asked about the relationship he admires the most. He just laughed softly, then said, "There are two people who care for each other more than we see. And I'm proud to be a small part of their story." Last notes from a silent heart. Jungkook once wrote in his diary, which is only shared with those closest to him, a sentence that describes everything. "I don't love you for people to see. I love you so that you know that even when the world stops, my heart still chooses you." And Taehyung, in a radio interview, was asked about who he will always carry in his mind even after everything is over. He answered quickly, "The person who makes me feel enough, even when I feel the most empty." He didn't mention a name. But the world knows. The house is called Taekook. Now, as time takes them on their own paths, one thing remains eternal, a feeling that never fades. Not because it's always revealed, but because it's always nurtured, like a secret garden that only the two of them know the door to. And Jin? He still walks with them. sometimes in front, sometimes behind, but always guarding so that this love that grows in silence doesn't lose its way. Because he knows, there is love that is born to be shown off, but there is also love that grows only to strengthen each other. And that is Taekook's story.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up.